Okay, hi everyone, thanks for tuning into this week's video. I'm here with my really good friend Bridget and we're in Glastonbury, one of my favourite places. Bridget has come from America. I've been on quite a lot of Bridget's retreats in the past and had some amazing experiences. So Bridget is a spiritual YouTuber, which may sound kind of cheesy, but she's an incredible person. She runs retreats all over the world at sort of sacred sites and different places and different kind of chakra points, and I've been lucky enough to go on lots of Bridget's retreats, and now we're really good friends and we were meeting up here, so we thought why not do a video. And Glastonbury, for anyone that's not been or for anyone that has been and experienced it, is a really special sacred place with fresh spring water running through it and this amazing kind of goddess energy. And when you come into Glastonbury and you walk down the high street and you see like the incredible kind of like different stores and different centres and healing centres that here, there's lots of emphasis on the goddess, because like to go back in history and mythology, like thousands of years ago, druids and different people around Glastonbury would have worshipped the goddess, and this goddess energy was so sacred, and women were valued in a way that has been eroded by like patriarchal society and the way we live now. It can be really hard to be a woman in this world we live in today and like finding your place. So that's what we thought it'd be interesting to talk to Bridget about, because Bridget's really helped me with that.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you've really helped me with that.
Good.
Yeah, I've never done an interview on this YouTube before either, so I'm like, do I look at the camera, do I look at you? We'll just work it out.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah, we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for doing this with me.
Of course.
Yeah, and how do you find Glastonbury? Because you've been really drawn here because you live in Sedona in America.
Yeah, I love Glastonbury. Glastonbury is like one of my favorite places, and it does feel like for me coming home to like a place that I've very much so been before.
Okay.
And it has a very different kind of energy than a lot of places, say in America or different sacred sites. And to me, it does have a very yin, like feminine energy.
Yeah.
And it's cool because here there is the merging of both. Like we have, you know, the white and the red spring representing like both, and then we have like the Michael and Mary ley lines that like snake up, you know, the Tor. So there is a merging of both masculine and feminine, but it does feel like there's an emphasis on the goddess.
Yeah.
Which I think it's amazing. Like we need a counterbalance, right? That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Like the pendulum swung like really far into like the masculine and like the women being wiped out, and like the feminine and like the place for that to be wiped out. And so this place, like it's just very nurturing and regenerative and empowering on a very like light level. And then if we've talked about a lot on a very like dark but like really rich, like mysterious primal level as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a contrast. We were just joking as well. We just before we did the video, we're kind of like contrasting, but this is the contrast in Glastonbury, that there's this really like angelic feel to it. Yeah. And then there's also this like darker energy, and like I was talking about when I came here, I think it was like the first time on Bridget's retreat, I had this really intense dream about the crow and what the crow means in our history. It means different things to different people around the world, but there's definitely the dark and the light at play here. Yeah. And it's interesting what you said about the yin, because that's something that I really wanted to talk to you about, because I'm finding myself as a woman that it can be quite difficult to sort of like bring those two together. So I want to step into my power as a woman, and you've really helped me do that, like facing fears and stepping into things that like into my sovereign self, which you know is a term that like you've taught me. But equally I feel like I want to be able to step into that like soft, feminine, nurturing energy, and sometimes I feel like in the world now that's not valued, or there's no room for that. Yeah. Which I find sometimes really challenging, especially as I get older and I'm looking to want to like nurture that maternal side of myself, where everything's just like go and very yang. Yeah. That can be challenging, I think.
Yeah, it's been really challenging for me too, like exploring that and figuring that out in my own life. And a lot of my, like, I come from a very very religious cultural background. I wasn't religious, but the culture was, where like women did not have a voice. Like, it was they were suppressed very much so. And I could see actually healthy masculine. I had very good reflections of that with my father and such. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll just be healthy masculine, you know, like as a woman. And I think whether it's healthy or unhealthy, like the version of women's empowerment in a distorted way has kind of become being men, like women becoming masculine men. Not all the time, and like that's an awesome expression as well, because we have both energies. We want to understand both.
And some women, like I obviously, like, women are so different. Like, we're talking about this kind of a theme that will run for like a lot of men and a lot of women, but I've got like female friends who are more like masculine, and that's like their natural nature, and I've got like guy friends that are much more in touch with their feminine, and there's absolutely like nothing wrong with that. It's just that like lots of women I know really struggle with that, like kind of they want to soften and they want to go into that like that natural maternal like feminine flow of things, but then we're constantly told like we've got like Beyonce or like Hillary Clinton, like all these like women that you know that play out in culture as like, you know, this is the way that we want to go and we're gonna like stomp our way to the top,
right?
And there's a place for some of that. It's just finding a space to listen to yourself and be intuitive.
Definitely
can be hard.
And I think to find that place, I think that's where like, where is the place of power? And I love the mix of both, right? We need to develop our masculine as physical, biological women. We need to develop the feminine. Men as well need to develop both aspects within themselves. But it is more of actually like the yin feminine of the biological woman that I'm more interested in now. Because I know how to be a masculine woman. I got that down. And so in that exploration, I think even just being here, I've only been here 2 days. And me coming here, me going to these places of nature and places like sacred places that have more of a yin energy, because there's certain sacred sites that have way more of yang energy.
Yes, they're all so different, aren't they?
They're completely different. And this one to me has a lot of yin energy. And I was sitting at the chalice well yesterday, the sacred well, this the feminine spring. And there's this, you know, like deep well that was like the space of like the mother, like it was, you know, archetypally represented like for millennia is that space. And I think for me it's learning how to source, like you just said, from your intuition. You know, and it's like this deep, like very primal, like primordial creation space, like literally where babies
like the womb energy is not just for like actual human life, it's to give birth to like expression and creativity, and to come to a space like this, like you say, where you're just given that space. Like we've only been here for about 24 hours, but it just feels so different to yesterday. And we just before we did this video, we went to the white spring, which is the masculine side of the spring, and we were able to go like fully in the water, and that was so like balancing for me and cleansing, and it's just really special to spend time somewhere like this. And that is something that I've learned just being here, is that I think I need to do this a lot more and give myself like nature time and to use my intuition and like go to where your energy is drawn and where it just feels right to be here.
I follow the intuition to then get to the place and then like melt into the intuition. And it's like that surrender space. And I think like in the kind of more masculine feminine expression, in that space, I notice for me, like I pull from this force, or like my kidney energy, or like it's more of like a mental, I need to do this kind of energy that drives. Like rather than like here. Whereas like, and even in like Taoist practices, like the sharp like mind, the clear mind's like the masculine, and then kind of the unseen space behind that is like the feminine, and it's almost like you're like drawing upon these like universal forces and like the earth forces to then create, and that has just as much power, maybe even more power in a different way than doing it, say, the way that we are kind of like watching how men used power. We're like, oh, okay, that's how we do it. Because I think we're trying to figure it out. That's what we're trying to remember, this resurgence of that that's been wiped out.
It's like a remembrance, because that's how I feel now, is I'm remembering and coming on the retreats with you and doing my own personal work in between, like that integration time has been really helpful, because I feel like I'm remembering and like learning that, you know, oh, there is a different way, and kind of like looking around and thinking, this just doesn't feel right to me. So how can I kind of remember and bring that back in?
Yeah.
And I think that it's like you can come to places like that, and then you kind of, that comes with you back home and into the day-to-day life. Do you have any like techniques or things that help you when you're not always able to come to a place like this, but you're like maybe in like a very young environment, like ways to kind of soften and feel like you can?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean it's tips? Just like, I think those, like any of the self-care practices, I mean, it kind of becomes like, self-care, but it's true. I mean, like, so whatever nature like is around, I feel like truly the element of water, because Sedona tends to be more yang. Yeah. But if I go down to the water, it's pretty intense. It has that energy. Yeah. But if I go down to the water, like, it's just so regenerative, and I think being in that space, it's like the return to the unseen. Like, you can't see what's happening. Your conscious mind doesn't even know what's happening. But in that space of surrender, whether it's like with nature or with the elements or just with yourself, whether it's like just coming back into like the body and letting its own instrument like navigate you. Movement is like super super key.
What you said then about like movement and water, so I like to try like to move and to dance, and like I really like to do yoga. I like that feeling of like that flow, and I actually love, one of my favorite things to do is when you're in water, is to kind of like, you just like ripple your hands across the surface of the water. So it's kind of like you're dancing but in the water, and then you're actually connecting with the element of the water. So that's something that I absolutely love to do, is the combination of the two, and that's something you can do like in your bath at home or anywhere where you can, you know, just move around in the water.
Totally.
Yeah.
Except the White Spring. That was pretty cold.
It was
we were all just like
yeah. But I think it's good to do things like that, because it's that contrast, isn't it? Like we were saying, it's the kind of like integrating the two. And like when you're in the White Spring, it is like this kind of like damp, cold space, and obviously when you're in the water, it's so cold. But then there's this really like warmth to it as well, because there's candles everywhere, and there's like lots of like reds and oranges and these sort of like subtle colours in there, so you kind of feel like you're getting warmth as well. It's a special place.
Oh, it's really, really nice. Yeah, and in that, I think muting of the senses, I mean, because so much, going back to any of the natural elements, so like even like candlelight, you know, and like those things that like draw us back in, and like drawing back in the senses, like our sensory perceptions, like back into us, and kind of this creating our own womb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where we create our own womb. Because when we're not creating like for the outside exterior world, then we need to create our own incubation space for that like regeneration, really you know, to then like, am I ready to come back out? And I think that's like, it's very much how I feel, even with having like a partner and like with sexuality, where it's like I do feel that flowering like rhythm of like I'm like out here and receptive, and then it's like I need to go back in and like renew and then come back out again. And I think that following like the cycles of especially like moon time and doing that kind of understanding our own natural flow and like what's needed in that, it makes, because that productive like masculine side of me has been like, well, you know, if I take 2 weeks more downtime a month, you know, where I'm not like creating as much. I'm not going to be able to like do everything I need.
Yeah.
But it's not really true. Like when you go back in and you like deeply source and deeply renew, you can create, and you're so much more clear, and you're coming from this really sourced space.
Yeah.
So I've been surrendering to that and just knowing that it is like part of my essence that has to like go like create from that space. And whatever's created from that space is going to be that much more rich, that has that quality.
Yeah. Not like when you've said that, I think it's like you say, there's certain times, and I've actually just bought a book on it. I'll post a link to the book below, and it's all about like how in this modern society, like to empower yourself to know the rhythms of your moon and like your cycle every month as a woman, and like how to know when you're going to be like certain hormones and certain things that are going on in your body are going to make you really productive, and they're going to make you fertile for like work projects and also for like the sex, and you're going to feel more like attracted to that. And then equally there's going to be like, you know, that's like the spring into the summer, and then you're going to go into the autumn and the winter, and that's when you said like you need to like go in, you need to give yourself time to just rest and incubate. And like I love to like get a hot water bottle and have like really warming foods and things, but there's this voice in my head which is when I know that like that's when I'm like, that's unnatural, that's the way we're conditioned, is like, no, you know, you can't take some like quiet days because you need to stay on it. We're in this like young, you know, you can't stop. You've got to like keep posting content online and check your emails, and it's something that I'm still learning how to just let myself. I think it's like allowing rather than constantly go.
Yeah. And we were talking about this last night, right? Is the tortoise versus the hare? Or something, some like that energy where it's like, okay, really like the longevity of, say, like the Eastern philosophy. Like I just go back to that. It's like, well, I want to be able to like produce like long term, you know what I mean? And like deep and be there rather than just like burn out in 5 years and then just like wilt away and disappear.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, what creates that? I might not create as much as quickly, which is actually like I am good at, which makes it even harder.
Yeah.
But it's like, I have to like listen to that soul force and go back to that, whatever that intuition is, you know, to really like feed that deeper level of purpose. And for me, one of the things that it's been coming back to in the past like couple months is like, it's about literally like my own spiritual development so that I can like serve others and serve myself. It isn't about like what is physically created in the world. There's a lot of non-physical energetic creation and development happening that is absolutely just as important, maybe even more important. And so it's like there's certain things that are unseen, and that's like part of the nature of the feminine. It's going to be unseen. You're not going to see it, but it has tangibility, and it will manifest in the physical world too.
I think it's like that quote, I think it's a Maya Angelou quote where she says like, people won't remember what you did, people won't remember what you said, but people will remember how you made them feel. And I think that's part of like what you said, it's unseen. And I always think about it with dancing as well. People say like people put so much energy into practicing dance and doing it, and you don't get like a painting or something at the end of it, like unless someone records it and you can watch it back. But it's like you're in that moment of like that energy and putting that out there. And I think that's part of like the feminine work, isn't it? It's doing that unseen, but it ripples out like that feeling. And I think about like all the women in my life, and I think that's another thing that I know is really important to you, and you've done a really good video on it, and I'll link to that below, is the importance of connecting with people, because like we've not seen each other for 2 years. So it's been really nice to catch up, and I think that the power of actually being in physical connection with people and finding people that you can really be honest and vulnerable with, and especially other women, because like I've been going through some of my own challenges that are around like my feminine self, and to be able to have women like you and like my mum and other really important women in my life that are supporting me and I'm able to be vulnerable with is just an incredible gift. And I think that a lot of people now maybe are afraid to be vulnerable, And maybe you've become a bit disconnected with like social media can be great because we would never have like come on your retreats and we would never have connected, but we've done it in a really good way in the sense that we've connected online and then we've connected in real life.
Yep.
And the real life stuff's what is kind of like the
matters.
Yeah, that's like the foundation of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that's critical. And that piece I think is what is creating this the lack of the rapport and like the feeling of each other to like understand ourselves. Like that reflection I think is really important to see with each other. Like I was just telling you guys about like the Amsterdam retreat and how it was incredible, and people are also having, I think, more distance from each other than even 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was really interesting when you said that.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy to me. Like I'm seeing more of a distance and connection even just after a few years of more of the social media. But like we spark each other. Like we like balance each other.
Yeah.
You know? We inspire each other. We're like, less of this, more of this. Like it helps attune us to like how we relate, you know? And so I agree. Like that in-person connection is really, really good.
Yeah, it's like, to me it feels like that's life. Like when I connect with people, and I know this is because I'm a touchy-feely people person, but I feel like I'm actually living. I'm not existing. I'm really like living my purpose, and I think we're meant to be in community and like commune with other people.
Yeah. And
it's that union of coming together that is really special. And I think as well, video isn't just about like women coming together. Like you know, my husband Rob is here, and we've had like a really nice day together, and he's got like so many great qualities that I can learn from, and so many other amazing men, that I think that's one thing that is also something that's important. Is now it's all about like girl power and women rule the world, and I think it should be like women and men together can rule the world, and we can teach each other so much, and we're all here for a reason, and I think that we can like learn from the best of each other.
Yeah.
And support one another. So
yeah, that's a really critical piece that I think gets lost under like us finally speaking for the first time, like women like really like what does my voice sound like, how do I use it, you know, like there's this exploration, and I think that's insanely beautiful. And then at the same time, like it's pretty loud to where like there's also the males do have important like critical contributions, and
100%.
Especially these new men like coming in, like they are different than the other men that wiped out the women, you know what I mean, like they are sensitive, they get it, like they want to help, you know. So I think that reintegration is critical for sure.
Yeah, and learning how to like lean into each other. So one thing for me is, it's like I've resisted saying sometimes that like I want that strength and support of a man, because I'm sort of like, oh, that's a stereotype of what men should be like, and I shouldn't expect that from a man. But actually, it's like, it's okay for me sometimes to say, like, I really want that in a man. Like, I like that kind of like, you know, men have more testosterone and they have certain different behaviors, and that's just like a scientific fact, and I can get so much from that, and then they can also learn so much from me as a woman. And I think that men are becoming less intimidated, because it is challenging, because like you say, as a woman, when you start finding your voice, it like men can be a bit like, you know, some men are really intimidated by that and don't like it when women start to be free and open about how they really feel. Yeah. And they kind of want women to stay small and stay pretty and you know, play this certain role. Yeah. And it's actually quite, it's interesting when you start to like just mess around with that and think, no, I'm not going to do that anymore, and you'll say something and you'll see some people be like, but then other people like it. Yeah. And then you know like who can help you grow. Yeah. Because that's the ultimate, isn't it, for you to, like, if you're in a heterosexual relationship, is to be able to come together and like learn from each other, the masculine, the feminine coming together. So it can be really special when you find that person that can be with that feistiness and that like that fire. Yeah. that I think we've kept like dampened down.
Yeah.
And we're letting it out.
We're like fully letting it move, and I think that's critical and beautiful. And then it's like, okay, and then what is the water, you know, like how does the water work, how does the fire work? And like them in like the masculine, they're like, okay, lots of fire, like how do I integrate both of those pieces? But I think it definitely is like important for it to be an absolute collaboration and like reintegration. And if you know, the symbolism of like the ley lines running through Glastonbury and like the two springs that at a certain time like did run together as one, I think is like beautiful physical symbols of like, okay, as humans coming together, like we need each other, we need both energies in ourselves, and that's what's really gonna help everything.
And you've really like helped me to find my voice, and like, you know, just seeing how I think you do it really beautifully, because to me you are really powerful. You know, like you've done so many incredible things. You can find out all about all the incredible Bridget things. I'll post links to everything below. And you've been a real inspiration to me, but you're also like a really genuine, authentic person that I feel like isn't like unbalanced, or I just feel like being around you helps me to integrate both. So it's been really nice to see you again. And
it's so good to see you.
Yeah, and thank you for doing this video. And if you ever get the chance to come to Glastonbury, or you've been before and you know you come back again, definitely to visit the springs. Like to go to the Chalice Well, and then if you can go into the White Spring, and if you want to do like the Wim Hof thing, you can you know, go in the water for, I think we were saying like 45 seconds
minimum.
That's the minimum. We just made it, I think. So and I'll post links to everything below so you can find out more about Bridget. And thank you for watching. It's been really fun to do like the video with someone else for the first time, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next week for another video. Thank you. Bye.
Aww.